So in today's session, we are going to discuss about what? On select of this new student registration, it need to go and open one new form. In that form, I need to fill the student details. When I click on the submit button, that data need to go and store to them. Data need to go and submit to the data sources in the SharePoint as a data source in the list format. So this is what my requirement here. This is the agenda for today's session. What is the agenda for today's session is this is what my requirement. Now in order to go and perform this, first of all, let me go and discuss about what is meant by this form, guys. So okay, before going to discuss about how to create the form like this, on select of this button, first of all, let me go and explain about what is meant by forms in the what is meant by forms in the Power Apps. What is a form? When to go and use it? And what we can do with the forms. First, let me go and discuss about the forms, and then we'll discuss about how to go and create this form-like structure when I click on this button. When I click on this new student registration. So let me go and open one notepad. Let me go and open one notepad, and let me keep here. In today's session, we're going to discuss about the forms. In today's session, we're going to discuss about what? Forms. Now see here, guys. Basically, what is the general definition for forms? What is meant by forms? In general, what is the forms means? Forms are commonly used to forms are commonly used to collect the data, or we'll call it as gather the data, guys. Forms are commonly used for what? These are used to collect or gather the information or the data or the data. What is the forms means? In general, forms are commonly used to collect or gather the information or data from the customers or from the users. We'll call it as a customers or from the users. So this is what the general meaning for forms. Now, what is meant by forms in the Power Apps? So this is what the general meaning for forms. Now, the same thing you are going to perform in the by using the forms in the Power Apps also, guys. But not only collecting the data, what we can do with the help of forms within the Power Apps. Let me go and keep it here. This is the general meaning for what is meant by a form. Now let me go and keep here. What is the use of the forms in the Power Apps? Let us say forms are used to enter the data, comma, display the data, comma, edit the data that is stored in the data sources. Now see, this is what the forms can do within the Power Apps. In the Power Apps, what we can do with the help of forms means, in Power Apps, forms are used to enter the data, forms are used to display the data, and forms are used to edit the data that is stored in the data sources. Whatever the data, if you want to enter the data into the data source, with the help of forms, you can go and enter it. And if you want to display the data in the forms, whatever the data was storing in the data sources, if you want to display the data in the forms means, yes, you can display it. Not only to display the data, if you want to edit the data that is stored in your data source, you can go and edit the data, guys. So by using the forms, what three operations you can go and perform, what actions you can perform here is, you can enter the data into the data sources. Once after entering the data, if you want to display that data in the forms, yes, you can go and display that data in the forms. Not only to display the data, whatever the data was storing in the data sources, if you want to go and edit the data, yes, you can go and edit the data. So these are the three actions where you can go and perform with the help of forms in the Power Apps. So this is what the forms can do within the Power Apps, guys, and this is what the general meaning for what is meant by a forms. Now try to understand, we know that what is meant by forms and what the forms can do within the Power Apps. And next, one more point you need to understand, what the form contains. Okay, you know that what is meant by a form and what the forms can do in the Power Apps. Now what the forms contains. Now see, forms will contains the fields. Forms will contains what? Forms will contains the fields or the data cards. Forms will contains what? Fields or data cards. Now see here guys, let's say I'm creating one form here. So let me keep the, in the form I'm having the first field. What is that one? Let us say student name. Student name. So this is my field. So this one will call it as what? This is one field. Let us say there is one more, email ID. So email ID is what? Email ID is another field. So what the form contains means within the forms we are going to have what? Fields. Student name is one field, email is one field. In general, we'll call it as fields. In general, we'll call it as what? Fields. But in the Power Apps terminology, we'll call it as what? Data cards. But in the Power Apps terminology, fields are called as what means? Fields are called as data cards, guys. Keep in mind this point. What the form contains means fields. What we'll call the fields in the Power Apps means fields are calling as data cards. In general, we'll call it as fields, and in the Power Apps terminology, we'll call it as what? Data cards. What the form contains means forms will contains the fields or the data cards. So this is what is meant by a forms and what the forms can do in the Power Apps and what the forms will contains. What the form will contains. And next, let me go and show you how to create a form within the Power Apps, guys. Now we know that what is meant by form here. Now let me go and show you how to go and create a form within the Power Apps. Now before going to discuss about how to create a form in the Power Apps, first of all I need to go and create one list in the SharePoint, guys. So I want to create one list in the SharePoint. What is the list name is? Students is the list name I want to create. I want to create one list. The list name is students. Now in this list, what columns I want to keep here is, the first column I want to keep here is student name column. The second column I want to keep here is email ID column. The third column I want to keep in the list is mobile number. And one more column I want to keep here is course column. And next one is education. So these are the columns. These are the columns I want to keep in this list. So I want to create one list. The list name is students. Now in this list, what the columns I want to keep? Columns are nothing but fields. Now what columns I want to keep means these are the columns I need to go and create, guys. Now let me go and open the SharePoint and let me go and create one list, guys. Let me go and create one list. The list name is student. Let me go and open the SharePoint now. Let me go here. Click on this app launcher. Go and select what? SharePoint. First, before going to discuss about how to go and create a form in the Power Apps, first let me go and create one list in the SharePoint, guys. Let me click on the SharePoint. Now, in order to go and work with the forms, I need to go and create one new site, guys. Let me go and create one new site. Click on create a new site. Let me go and create the team site now. Click on create team site. Now click on this standard. Go with the standard template. Now click on this use template. Use this template. Click on it. Let me pass the site name. Let me pass the site name as forms. So in order to go and work with the forms, I need to go and create the multiple list. So where I can go and create all the list means in the site called forms. Let me go and create the site. The site name is forms. Let me go and click on the next button, guys. Just click on the next button. Now just go and click on the create site. It will take some time to create the site. Now see, it is creating a site here. Let it create. Let me click on finish. Click on finish now. When I click on finish, now you are able to see the form here. Not a form, site. What is my site name? Forms is my site name. In this site, I want to create one list, guys. In the site, I want to create what? List. What's the list name I want to create? I want to create the list called students. So this is the list I want to create now. This is the list I want to create. Now let me go and show you how to create a list. Now how to create the list within this site? Just go and click on what? New. What I want to create new here? List. Click on the list. Now I want to create a list from the blank. Click on this blank list. Now see, go and pass the list name here, guys. Let me go and pass the list name. Let me pass the list name as students. Once after passing the list name, go and click on the create button. Just click on the create. Now it is going to create one list. The list name is what? Students. Now whenever you create a list, by default is going to add one column. What's that column? Title column. I will show you how to rename this column, guys. Now I want to add some columns to this list. Now let me go and add the columns. One way you can add the columns is go and use the add columns. Another one is go to the settings, go to this gear icon settings, click on it, and go to the list settings. Go to the list settings. When I go to the list settings, now here you are able to find out the columns. Now by default, these are the columns I'm having. Now first let me go and rename this title column to student name, guys. Let me go and rename this title column to student name. Let me go and rename it to yes name. Yes name stands for student name. Now scroll down, click on the OK button. Now see, first I am renaming the title column to student name. Next I want to create few columns. What columns I want to create means remaining I want to create the student email ID, mobile number, course and education. These are the columns I want to create now. Let me go and click on what? Create new column. Click on this create column. Let me go and pass the column name here, guys. What's the column name I want to pass? Email. Now let me go and select the data type as what? Single line of text. Select the data type as what? Single line of text. And now see, I'm going to make this email ID as a mandatory field, guys. Mandatorily, I need to go and enter the student email ID. So let me go and check this button. Required this column need to contain some information. So I want to make this field as mandatory field. And also this field email ID column don't allow the duplicate values. So go and enable this one also. Enforce unique values. That means into the email, I don't want to allow the duplicate values, guys. Duplicate email IDs. Now just scroll down and click on the OK button. Click on OK. Now I'm adding one new column, that is what? Email ID column, guys. Like this I want to add one more column. Go and click on what? Create columns. Let me pass the column name as what? Mobile. Let me pass the column name as mobile. Let me go and select the data type as a go and select it as a number, or you can go and select a single line of text. Anyone is fine. Let me select the single line of text for now. And also I want to make this as required. For now I am not going to make this as required. I am going to make this field as required in the form. So how to make it as required, there I will discuss. But keep here, I don't want to allow the duplicate values into the mobile number column, guys. So just scroll down and click on the OK button. Now see, I'm adding one more column. What's that column? Mobile number column. I want to add one more column here. Let me go and click on the create new column. What column I want to add it here now? Course. For which course the student is inquired. Now once after passing the column name, enter the column name. Now select the data type. What the data type I'm selecting here is choice column, guys. Let me go and select the data type as a choice. Now scroll down. Now let me go and enter the choices here. For which course the student is inquired. Let me take the course as Power Apps is the course, Power BI, SQL Server, and let me enter one more as ADF, or let me enter the Power Automate. These are the courses the student is going to be inquired. Let me go and click on the OK button. Just enter the values here, guys. What are the courses you want to keep? Now just scroll down and click on the OK button. Now see, I'm adding one more column. What's that column? Just now we added course column. Now I want to add one more column here, that is education. What is the educational background of the student? So let me pass here education. Column name is education. Now let me go and select the data type as what? Single line of text. Single line of text. Scroll down and click on the OK button, guys. Now see, I'm creating one list. The list name is student. In this list, what are the columns I'm adding here now? Student name column, student email ID, student mobile number, which course the student is taking, and what is the educational background. And if you see, this email ID column is what? It is a required column. It is mandatory column. You need to enter email IDs of the student mandatorily. So these are the columns I'm going to keep in this list. Let me go to the list. Go and click on the students, guys. When I click on it, now see, these are the columns I'm having in this list: student name, email, mobile number, course, and education. Now I want to enter the data into this list from Power Apps. From Power Apps, I want to go and enter the data in this list guys. Now once after creating the list, now go and create a form in the Power Apps. Now see, once after creating this list, I want to enter the data into this list through Power Apps, from Power Apps. So let me go and create one form in the Power Apps guys. Now let me go to the Power Apps. Now see, whenever I click on this button, or whenever I click on this new student registration, and I click on this new student registration, it need to go and open one new form. So how to go and open that new form? First of all, how to create a form here guys. First of all, let me show you how to create a form. So in order to go and create the form, let me take one more screen, new screen. Already I'm having the two screens here. One is welcome screen, second one is screen 2. Now in the screen 2, I'm having this new student registration. When I click on it, it need to go and open one new form now. Now where I can go and create this form means I need to go and add another screen here. Let me go and add another screen guys. How to add another screen? Go and click on this new screen. Click on the new screen and click on this blank screen. Now see, one more screen is added. Let me rename it to screen 3. Let me rename it to what? Screen 3. Now try to understand, in this screen 3 currently there is nothing else. Now I want to go and design this canvas, or we'll call it as a screen or a canvas. I want, what is my requirement, Chris? In this screen 3, I need to go and create what? I need to go and create a form. Now, before going to create the form, let me go and change the background color of this canvas to red. Now, how to change the background color? Go to this background color. On the top, you are able to see the background color. Just click on it and go and click on the color as red. Now, when I click on the color as red, now see, the background color is changed. Once the background color is changed, I want to keep some text here, guys. I want to keep some text here. What is the text is? New student registration form. Or let me keep it as a registration form, whatever it is. So I want to keep some text here. Now tell me, if you want to keep some text, which control you need to go and take? Now tell me, I want to keep some text here. Now what is the control I need to go and take in order to go and keep some text?
Text label.
Yes. Let me go and select the control as text label. Now select the text label. Keep it somewhere, anywhere if you want to go and keep it. Just place it. Now let me do some formatting. Yes. Align it to center. Make it as semi bold. Increase the size to 26. And let me change the font color to white. Let me keep it in the bold, and let me go and change this default text. I want to change it to new student registration. So select this one, go to the text property and change the text to new student registration. So what is the text I'm keeping here? New student registration. Let me increase some font. Please be on mute. Fine. Now see, I'm keeping some text here, guys. What's the text I'm keeping here? New student registration. Next, I want to go and create one form here now. Now I need to go and create one form here, guys. Now how to go and create a form? Once after keeping this text header, it is like a header. Now I want to go and create one form here. So I want to take one more control. So go and click on what? Insert tab. And select the control is what? Now I want to go and create one form. Now if you see, there is one control called edit form. There is one control called edit form. Just go and click on this edit form, guys. Now see, when I click on it, now it is adding one form here. Now see, whenever I add the form in the left side, under the tree view, you are able to see into screen 3, I'm adding one something control. What's that control I'm adding here? Form. Now this is the form I'm adding here, guys. Now just scroll, keep it here, wherever if you want to keep it, align it. I want to keep the form here. Just align it. I want to keep the form like this and just increase some height. Just align it based on your requirement. Now once after align, if you see here, currently there is nothing in this form, guys. This form is not connected to any data. Connected to the data. It is telling that go and connect to the data. Now let me show you. I'm adding one form here from the insert tab. When I add the form, it is blank for now. Now I want to create one form here. So how to go and create the form means, first of all, we need to connect to the data. First of all, we need to connect to the data source. What is my data source? My data source is SharePoint. In the SharePoint, in this site, I'm having one list. Students is my list. Now I want to connect to this list, guys. Now how to connect to this list? So if you want to connect to the list, first of all, let me go and connect to the data source. From where you can go and connect to the data sources. In the left side, app authoring menu, in this menu, in the left navigation menu, there is something called data. Go and click on this data, guys. If you see, this is called as data. Click on the data. Now from here, you can go and add the data. Now click on this add data. Click on this add data. When I click on it, from here, you can search the data, guys. Which data source you want to connect, you can search it here. Or go and click on the connectors and click on the see all connectors. When I click on the see all connectors, now you are able to see all the connectors here. These are the different types of connectors, or we'll call it as data sources. Now I want to connect to the data source called SharePoint. Now go and search here. Go and search here called SharePoint, guys. Now see, when I type here SharePoint, now automatically displaying what? SharePoint. Now just go and click on this. Select the data source as a SharePoint. Now when I select this, now see, it is asking us, you want to connect to the SharePoint, connect directly using cloud services or on premises. I want to connect to the SharePoint. Let me go here. Pass the SharePoint, click on it. Now I want to connect to the SharePoint through cloud. So select the first option, guys. Connect directly through cloud. And click on what? Connect. Directly go and click on connect. Don't do any changes. Click on connect. Now when I click on connect, it is going to connect to the SharePoint, guys. Now see, by default, it is showing some sites here. Recent sites. What are the recent site? Communication site, batch 6 p.m. and demo. Now I want to connect to the new site. What's my new site? Forms is my new site. Now here you can go and enter the site URL, guys. Here you need to go and enter what? Site URL. Now it is telling that enter the SharePoint URL for location of your list. So what I need to go and keep here is I need to go and enter the site URL. From where you can go and take the site URL means go to the SharePoint and go to the list here, and on the top you are able to go to the URL. In this URL, copy from here, guys. Copy up to here. Forms. Site name is what? Forms. Copy from here to here. Just copy and then paste it here. Now click on connect. When I click on connect, now see, it is displaying the list name. What is the list name is there? In this form, I'm having one list. What's that list? Students is my list. I want to connect to this list. So just go and select the list name is what? Students. And then click on what? Connect. Just directly go and click on connect, guys. Click on connect. Now when I click on connect, now it will display the data here. What is the data source you are connecting? Just now I connected to the SharePoint as a data source. What is the SharePoint list name? Site is students is the list name. Now once after connecting the data, now go and select the form. Go and select the form. Now once after selecting the form, in the right side under the properties, when I select the form has some properties, guys. In the right side you are able to see the properties. Under the properties there is one property called data source. Now here you can go and select the data source. What data you want to display in this form? Go and select the data source. Go and click on this drop down. Here you are able to see the data source, guys. What is the data source? Just now I added students. Just go and click on what? Go and select the data source as a SharePoint list students. Now select this. Now whenever I select the data source, now see, automatically Power Apps is creating one form here, guys. I am not creating this form. Whenever I connect to the data, by default, by taking this list as a reference, whatever the columns is there in this list, by taking these columns, by default is creating one form here. By default it is creating what? One form. Now see, just increase the, let me keep it like this. I want to change, do some formatting here. I want to change this text color to white. So select this one. I want to do some basic formattings, guys. Go and change the font color to white and also keep it to semi bold. Let me increase the size to 26. Let me go and do the same thing for the remaining, guys. Select the email, semi bold, 26, and font color is white. Let me go to the mobile, select the mobile, change the font color, keep it in the semi bold and make it as 26. Change the fonts size as 26. Click on the enter button. Next, go to the course. Align it to center, no center. Just go and change the font color white. semi bold 26. Next, do the same thing for education also. Change the font color to white, change the font weight to semi bold, and font size as 26. Now see, this is the form I'm creating. This is my form. This is the form I'm creating here. Now try to understand, in this form, I'm having some extra column here. What's that column is? Attachments. So this is the default column, guys. I don't want to keep this attachments column. I want to remove it. Now how to remove it? So in the left side, in the right side itself, under the properties, under the data source, there is one more property called fields. Now go and select this one, guys. Currently, how many fields is there means? There are 6 fields is there in this. Now go and select this fields, 6 fields. Now here, you are able to see what fields is there in this list, in this form, guys. In the form, whatever the fields is there, that fields names you are able to see it here. Now there is one field called attachments. I don't want to keep this field in the form. I want to remove it. So go to this 3 ellipses, click on more actions, and click on what? Remove. Now when I remove, I am not able to see these attachments here. So here also in the form, there is no attachments. So just increase the form height here somewhat. Let me increase somehow in the top. Fine. Now see here, guys. This is the form I am creating. Now try to understand. Try to understand. Now once if I enter the student details, once if I enter the student name, email ID, mobile number, which course the student is taking, and education qualification, once after entering all the data, I need to go and submit this data to the data sources. I need to submit this data to what? Data source. Now what is my data source? SharePoint is my data source. Now, how to submit the data? Whatever the data I'm entering in the form, I want to submit this data to the data source. How to go and submit means I need to go and keep one button here, guys. Submit button. Now, let me go and add one button here. So in order to go and add the button, go to the insert tab. Let me add one control. What's that control? Button. Let me go and click on this button control, guys. Add the button control. Scroll down. Not keep it here in the bottom. Just align it properly. Keep it here. Let me do one thing. Let me go and change the text. Submit. Let me change the text to submit. And also I want to change the background color. Go and change the background color to white, and go and change the font color to red. Go and change the font color to red, and also keep it as semi bold. Okay, fine. Now this is the button, guys. Now see, on select of this button, I want to go and submit the data to the data source. Along with this, I need to go and keep one more button here, guys. That is reset button. Before going to keep the reset button, I want to do few more formattings here. Now see, when I hover this, when I hold the mouse on this button, it is changing the background color. I don't want to change it. I want to keep it as same. So scroll down, go to the properties. There is one property called hover color. In this currently it is like blue. I want to keep it as white. So just go and select this self dot fill. Go to this hover color. Just replace it with fill color. And also hover color, it is like a font color is, when I hover it, the font is like white. I want to keep it as red itself. I want to keep it as red. So select this and keep here red. It is by default red. Hover color. Okay, it is red. No worries. And also one more thing, pressed color. Let me check the pressed color. Pressed color, fill color is like it is red. I don't want to keep it as red. I want to keep it as white itself. So let me do one thing. Just copy it. Go here and remove it. Paste it here. Fine. Let me check it, guys. Just I'm doing some formatting. Already I've shown you how to do this formatting. Hover color is changing to white. Hover color. So let me go and change the hover color of the font. Hover color font is white. Let me go and change it to red color. Color dot red. Let me go and keep here that color dot red. Now save it. Play it. Still it is changing. Just 1 second. 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 1 Let me change it to red. And also pressed fill color, I want to keep it as white. Pressed fill color, font color, I want to keep it as white. Fine. Let me save it. Now see, on select of this button, now it will act as one button, guys. When I click on this, it will act as one button. Now I want to create the same button like this. So just copy, paste it, and just go and change the name here. So this button is for reset, guys. This button is for what? Reset. This button is for what? Submit. So just go here and change the font to reset. I want to reset the form, guys. Let us say if I'm not entering the valid details, I want to reset the form. If you want to reset the form, go and select this one. So just I'm keeping some controls here. Let me change the font to 26. Let me go and change the font here also to 26. Fine. So submit button is for what? To submit the data to the data sources. Reset for what button is for what? If you want to reset the form, you can go and reset it. Now see, let me go and enter the data, guys. Let me go and enter the data in the form. And also meanwhile, select the form and change the default mode to, there is one property called mode property. Default mode is edit. I want to make it as new. Let me change it to new, save the form and play it now. Now see, I'm going to enter some data, guys. The student name I'm keeping here is, let's say the student name is Warner. The student email ID, let me keep some email ID. And next, let me enter some random mobile number. I'm entering some random mobile number. Let me select the course as Power Apps. Let me select the education as BTech. Now see, now when I click on this button, submit button, when I click on this button, submit, it need to submit this data to where? To the data source. Let me check when I select this button. Now see, I'm selecting this button, guys. On select of this button, let me go and check in the SharePoint that data is submitted or not. Let me click on the refresh. Now see, the data is not coming here, guys. The data is not submitted. Why? Because if you observe, just I am creating one button here, but I am not performing any operations here. Now what I need to do, on select of this button, I want to go and submit this data to the SharePoint. Now select the button, go to the property called on select property, go and select the property called on select property. By default this onset property is false. Now just remove it. Now in place of this, go and use one function called submit form. Go and use one powerfx function. What's that function? Powerfx function, submit form. Now which form you want to submit, guys? This is the form I want to submit. What's the form name? The name of the form is form 1. Let me pass the form name here. I want to submit the form. Which form? Form 1. So you need to go and use this expression, guys. Submit form 1. Now save the app and go and play it. Now see, I'm entering some data in the form. Now just go and click on the submit button, guys. When I click on the submit button, now say I'm not able to see the form, but if you go and see the SharePoint list, go and click on the refresh. Now see the data is submitted or not. Yes, whatever the data I'm entering in the Power Apps form, the data is coming into where? In the SharePoint list. What's the name? Warner. What's the email ID? Warner@gmail.com. Mobile number, which course the student is taking, and what's the education of that educational background of the student. So like this, if you want to submit the data to the data sources, on you need to go and create one button. On select of this button, what you need to do? You need to go and use one something called submit form. Which form you want to submit? I want to submit this form. Form name is what? Form 1. This is what how to go and submit the data. And next one is there is one more button called reset button, guys. What is the use of this reset button is I want to reset this form. Let us say, let me go and select the form, change the layout to new, this default mode to new. I will explain you guys why you need to go and change it every time. I will explain you. Now see, I'm entering some student details. Student name is Smith. Student email ID. Let me enter some random email ID. Let me enter some email, mobile number. Let me enter some mobile number. Let me enter the course. Let me enter the education. Now see, I don't want to submit this. Let us say I want to reset this form. Once after entering the data, I want to clean the form, guys. I want to reset it. Now I need to go and click on what? Reset. When I click on this reset, it need to reset the form. Now see, when I click on this button, reset button, it is not resetting the form. Why? On select of this button, I am not performing any action case. So select this button, reset button, go to the on select property, go to the on select property. Now it by default is false. Let me go and use one function here. What that function is? Reset form. There is one function called what? Reset form. There is one function that is reset form. Now see, in this, which form you want to reset? I want to reset the form 1. So just go and select the form, guys. Now close it. Once after entering the data, just 1 second. Now see, once after reset the form 1, now go and play it. Now click on the reset button, guys. Now see, when I click on this reset button, it need to clear that form. When I click on the reset, now see, the form is resetted or not? Yes. If you enter some data by default, if you want to reset the form, just go and click on what? Reset button. When I click on this reset, now the form data is cleared. So if you want to reset the form, go and use the reset button. If you want to submit the form, go and click on the submit button. So this is what, how to go and create a form and how to submit that data to the data source. What's my data source? SharePoint is my data source. How to submit it to here? In order to go and submit the data, go and use what? Submit button. On the submit button, on select property, what you need to go and use what? What you need to go and use here? Submit form. Which form? Form 1. If you want to reset the form, on select of this button, on select of this button, you need to go and use one function. What's that function? Reset form. Which form you want to reset? This is the form I want to reset. What's the name of this form? Form 1. So if you want to submit the data, this syntax. If you want to reset the form, this is the syntax. And next try to understand. If you see, I said that what the form contains. I said that what the form contains. Form contains the fields or the data cards. Forms contains with what means? Fields or data cards. In general, we'll call it as a fields. In the Power App terminology, we'll call it as a data cards. Now, what is this fields or data cards means? Now, see here, guys. If you go to the form, student name is one field, or we'll call it as a data card. Email is one data card, or we'll call it as a field. In the Power Apps terminology, we'll call it as a data card. Mobile is one data card. Course is one data card. Education is one data card. So this is my form. Now what the form is containing? Forms contains the data cards, or we'll call it as a fields. Now try to understand what is meant by these data cards. We know that these are called as data cards. If you see under the form, there are data cards is there. This is my screen 3. So currently I'm in the screen 3. In the screen 3, there is something called form. Now see, when I select the form here, it is selecting here also. Now when I go and click on this drop down and I go and expand it, here under the form, you are able to see the data cards. These are called as data cards. See, the first one is what? Student name data card. Second one is what? Email data card. Third one is what? Mobile data card, courses data card, and education data card. These are called as data cards, guys. Now what the form contains means form contains the data cards. Now what the data card will contains? Now see, there is one data called student name. Let me go and select this data card, guys. Student name. Now see, when I select this student name data card, when I select here, automatically the same data code is going to be selected here also. If you observe, whenever I select any data code here under the form, automatically the same data code is going to be selected here also. If I go and select the email, now see, the same email data code is selected here. So now what the data code will contains? Okay, we know that what the form contains means the forms contains the fields, or will call it as data cards. Now what the data code will contains? Now if you see, when I go and expand the student name data card, and I go and expand it, now see, under this there are some controls. Now what the data card will contains means each data card, student name, email, mobile, all this, each data card will contains what? It will contains some properties. What are those properties means? First one is star visible. First one is what? Star visible. Second one is what? Error message. Third one is what? Data card value. Fourth one is what? Data card key. Now what is this controls? What is this star visible? What is this error message? What is this data code value? What is this data code key? Let me go and explain you guys. Now try to understand. First of all, let me go and list out what the data code will contains. Data code will contains what? Controls. Now how many controls the data code contains? 4 controls it will contains. Let me go and keep that point here, guys. Each data code contains 4 controls. Each data code contains 4 controls. Now what are the controls? The first one is star visible. The first one is what? Star visible. And the second one is error message. And third one is data code value. And the fourth one is data code key. Fourth one is what? Data code key. So these are the different types of controls it contains, guys. What the data code will contains means each data code will contains four controls. Now what are the controls the data code will contains? Data code or a field, guys. Now what it contains? 4 controls. These are called as controls. First one is star visible. Second one is error message. Third one is data code value, and fourth one is data code key. Fourth one is what? Data code key. These things I'm listing there. Now try to understand what is this star visible, what is this error message, what is this data code value and data code key. Let me go and explain. First, let me go and discuss about what is this star visible, guys. What is this star visible? Star visible, it is used to make the field, is mandatory. It is used to make the field as mandatory, guys. Whenever if you want to make the field as mandatory, then go and use what? Go and enable this star visible. Now see, if you go to the form, in this form there is one mandatory field. What is the mandatory field in this form? If you observe, there is one field called mandatory field. What is the mandatory field?
Email.
Email. Correct. Email is the mandatory field. How I can say that this is the mandatory field? Why it is keeping? I am not keeping that it is mandatory. I am not telling that it is not mandatory. By default, whenever I create the form, it is keeping this star visible, mandatory. Why it is making this email ID as mandatory? Why it is not making the remaining as mandatory? If you go to the data source, what is the data source? From where I am getting these fields? SharePoint. If you go to the SharePoint, if you go to the list settings, if you scroll down, now these are the columns I'm having. In these columns, what is the required column? What is the mandatory column?
Email.
Which column is mandatory? Email column. So at the time of creating the students list, I am making this email field or a column is mandatory, guys. It is required. So based on the data types I am creating in this SharePoint list, the Power Apps is creating the form. So I'm making this email as mandatory in the data source. So that's why by default is keeping it as mandatory. Now my requirement here is, I want to make the mobile also mandatory field. This mobile number is not mandatory in the data source, but I want to make this mandatory here. Now how to make it as mandatory? If you want to make any field is mandatory, you need to go and use what? Star visible. So if you enable this star visible, then you are able to make this field as mandatory, guys. Now how to make this as mandatory means, go and select the data code. Which data code? Mobile. Go and select the mobile data code. And this mobile data card will have one property. If you go to this drop down, there is one property called required property. There is one property called what? Required. Now by default is false. I want to make it as true. Now how to make it as true? This will come under the customizations, guys. This will come under the customizations. I will show you how to make the fields is mandatory in the coming classes. All these things will come under the customizations. I will discuss it. So whenever if you want to make any field is mandatory, you can go and make it as mandatory, guys. Let me show you at a high level how to make it as mandatory. Select the field, which field you want to make it as mandatory, and go to the advanced properties. Here on the properties, go to the advanced properties, and by default this data card is locked. Go and unlock it. Click on this unlock data card. Once unlock, go to the required property. Now go and make this as true. Make this as true. Now immediately when I go and make this required property as true, now see, you are able to see the required property, required star visible or not. Yes. Let me change into white color. Let me change it to white color, and also let me change some font size 26. Now see, I'm making the mobile also mandatory. So like this, if you want to make any field is mandatory, then go and use this star visible case. By default, if the column is required in the data source, Power Apps will make that field as required field in the form also. Otherwise, if you want to make any field is required in the form, you can go and use this star visible. And next one is what? Error message. Now what is this error message, guys? Another data code is error message. Now what is this error message is? Now see, it is used to, what is the functionality of it is? It is used to display the error message. It is used to display what? The error message. Now see, let's say I'm going to submit the form, guys. Now see, I'm going to enter some details. I want to submit some of the student details. Let us say name is equals to Smith. Email ID, it is mandatory, I'm not entering. Mobile number, I'm entering some mobile number here. Course, I'm selecting something Power Apps. Education, let me keep it as, let us say, his educational background is easy. Now see, there is one field, mandatory field. Which field is mandatory? Email. I'm not entering any email here, guys. I'm not entering the email. Without entering the mandatory field, if I go and click on the submit button, now see, it is throwing some error message. If you observe here, it is throwing some error message, guys. What is that error message? Email is required. If you see, here it is showing some error message. What is that error message? Email is required. So this is the default error message, guys. So if you want to change this default error messages, then go and use what? If you want to change this default message, let me go and change the font to white. Now see, you can see it here. Email is required. It is the default error message. I want to change it. If you want to change the default error messages, go and use what? Error message. Now see, go and click on this email data card. Select the email data card, and then go to the error message control, guys. Select the error message. Now by default, the data card is locked. Go to the advanced properties and enable this. Unlock the data card first. Unlock the data card, and then select the error message property. By default, it is parent.error. I don't want to make it as default error message, guys. Email is required. Let me remove it. I want to keep here. Please enter the email. Please enter what? Email. Keep it in the single double quotes, case. Whenever if you are entering the text or a string, keep it in the single quotes. Please enter the email. So this is the another value I'm keeping is. If you don't want to go with the default values, if you want to keep some error messages by your own, then go and use this error message. Now see, save it and play the app. Now see, I'm going to submit one more time. Now see, the previously the message is different. Now the message is different. Previously error message is what? Email is required. But here now what is the error message? Please enter the email. So like this, if you want to go and change the error message, then you can go and use this error message control. And next one is what? Next one is data card value. Next one is what? Data card value. Now what is this data card value? Let me go and keep here. It is used to display or it is used to not display, let me keep here. It is used to enter the data. It is used to enter the data in the field. Whenever if you want to enter some data in the fields, whenever if you want to enter some data in the fields, then go and select what? Data card value. Now see, what when I go and select this data card value, what it will be selected, guys? Now see, this one is called as data card value. This is the place where you can go and enter the data. So what is this data card value means? Data card value is used to enter the data. Whenever if you want to enter the data into the field, where you can go and enter it in the data card value. And next one is what? Data card key. Now what is this data card key means? Let me go and keep here. It is used to display the title. It is used to display the title of the field. It is used to display the title of the field or a data card. If you want to display the title of the data card, if you want to display the title of the data card, where you can go and display with the help of data card key. Now see, this when I go to the student name, when I go and select the data card key, now what is the value it is selecting? What is that value it is selecting? When I select the data card key, it is selecting what? Title. What is the title for this field? This is one field. For this field, what is the title I'm keeping? Student name. By default is the student name. If you want to change it, you can go and change it. How to change? First of all, select the data card and unlock that data card first. Go and unlock it and go and select the data card key. By default, it is parent.display. By default is yes name. I want to keep it as only name. I want to keep it as what? Only name. Now see, I'm keeping it as only name. So if you want to change any title of the data cards or a fields, then you can go and use what? Data card key. So try to understand, guys. The form contains what means? The form contains the data cards. What the form contains? The form contains the data cards. These are called as data cards. Student name, email, mobile, course, education. All these are called as data cards. Now each data card will contains what? Controls. What are the controls? Store visible, error message, data card value, and data card key. The same controls will be there for the remaining also. If you go to the email also will have the same controls. If you go to the mobile also will have the same controls. So each and every data card will contains 4 controls. What are those controls means? Store visible, error message, data card value, and data card key. So this is about what is this data card controls, guys. All these are called as what? Data card controls. How many controls the data card contains? 4 controls. These are the different types of controls it is. And next we are going to discuss is properties, guys. Properties of the form. Now if you see, there are some properties for the form. If I go and select the form, this is my form, guys. This is my form. Now when I select the form has some properties. If you go to the properties, the first one is what? Data source. Already we discussed it. It is used to connect to the data. Next one is what? Fields. Already we discussed about the fields. When I select this, it will display the fields. What is the first field? Student name. Second one is what? Email, mobile, course, education. Now see, I want to keep the mobile as second field. I want to keep the email ID in the third field, third position, guys. How to change it? Go to these fields, just drag and drop. Drag and drop it anywhere if you want to keep. If I now what is the second field here? Mobile. Now see in the form also it is changed. Now what is my second field? Mobile. What's the third? Email. So like this, if you want to interchange or if you want to add any fields into this form, you can go and click on this add fields. When I click on this add fields, you are able to see all the fields or columns which is there in the students list, guys. But here by default, what it will display? Whatever the fields you are able to see in the form, those fields only you are able to see it here. If you want to add any fields to the form, go and click on the add fields. Here you are able to see all the fields. Next, what's the next property? Snap to columns. Now see, what is this snap to columns means? Just 1 second. Let me go over here. Now see here, guys. Now what is this snap to columns means? Snap to columns is used to equally divide the number of columns in this form, guys. Now see, how many columns is there in this form means there is only one column. Under one column, I am setting all these things. Now see, if I go and select the columns as 2, currently how many columns is there? Only one column. If I select here 2 columns, if I select here 2, now see the form is having how many columns now? 2 columns. If I select here 3, now it is going to set how many columns? 3 columns. So like this, if I want to set the columns, and whenever if you change the columns, if you want to give the equal spacing for each data card, equal spacing for each data card, then go and enable this snap to columns. If you are not enabling this, if you turn off it, if you turn off, now I can go and change the columns to 1. Now see, it is not changing. When it will change, if I go and change the columns here, if it is on, when the snap to columns is on, then only it will changes. So if you change the number of columns in the form, 1 column or 2 columns form you want to keep, automatically if you want to go and give the equal spacing means, go and click on what? Snap to columns. And next one is layout. Now what is this layout means? Now see, there are 2 types of layouts, guys. One is vertical layout, second is horizontal layout. Currently it is in the vertical layout, guys. Now I want to change this form to horizontal layout. Now go and click on what? Horizontal. Now see, when I click on horizontal, it is displaying the data in the horizontal. Now if you want to change it to vertical, go to the layout and click on vertical. So you can keep it here, guys, whatever the layout you want to keep, whether you want to keep the horizontal layout or you want to keep the vertical layout. This is called as layout. And next one is mode. So this is like a form mode, guys. The form has one modes. There are different modes is there. So when I go and click on this drop down, there are 3 different modes. One is edit, second one is new, third one is view. Now see, I said that what we can do with the help of forms in Power Apps, we can enter the data, you can display the data in the forms, you can edit the data in the forms. Now see, in order to go and enter the data, you need to go and select the form mode as new. If you want to display the data in the form, you need to go and select the form mode as view. Not to go and edit the data, you need to go and select the form mode as what? Edit. So you understand, guys, all these things in detail we'll discuss in the coming classes. Just for now, try to understand what are the different types of form modes is there. 3 different types of form modes: edit, new, and view. And next, visible. Now see, if you want to hide this form, you can go and stop the visible property. If I stop the visible property, now see, I'm not able to see the form. If you want to unhide it, go and enable this visible property. When I enable it, I'm able to see the form. If you want to hide or unhide the form, go and use the visible property. Next one is where you want to keep this form. What is the X position? What's the Y position? And what is the width and height? Width means this is the width. Height means this is the height. What is the height you want to keep? What is the width you want to keep? And what is the X position and what is the Y position? If you want to change it, keep it from here, you can go and align it. So instead of dragging and dropping, if you want to keep the exact X position and Y position, if you want to keep the exact width and height, you can go and change it here. And fill color, guys, form fill color. Already the form is in the red fill color. If you want to change the fill color to yellow, you can go and change it. So let me go and change the form fill color to red itself. Next, border color. So if you want to give some border, there are different types of borders is there: dashed border, dotted border, nothing if you don't want to keep any border, and solid border. Now I want to keep some border here. So border size I'm keeping here is 5. And what is the border color I want to keep here is white. Now see, automatically for the form it is adding one border, guys. Like this, if you want to keep any border for the forms, if you want to use it. Now this acceptance focus is the latest one. There is no use for this. Just neglect this one, guys. So these are the different properties is there. These are the default properties. There is some advanced properties for this form. So you can see the advanced properties here. I will discuss all these advanced properties in the coming classes, guys. These are some advanced properties. In the coming classes we'll discuss. So whatever the basic properties and advanced properties you are able to see it here, the same properties you are able to see where? On the top left side you are able to see it from here. Same properties, both advanced and basic properties, everything you are able to view it here. So these are the what are the properties, guys? Properties of the form. This is what are the properties of the form, and what the form contains means data cards. What the data card contains means data card will contains 4 different controls. What are the controls means star visible, error message, data card value, and data card key. So we discussed about all this stuff. So this is about how to go and create a form. And if you see, okay, I'm creating one form in screen 3. I'm able to submit the data. If you go to the welcome screen, let me play the app, guys. When I click on the get started, it need to go to the screen 2. Now see, it is navigating to screen 2. Now in the screen 2 already we discussed about all these things. Now I need to go and click on this new student registration. When I click on this new student registration, now it need to go and open that form. Now that means it need to go to the which screen? Screen 3. It need to go to the screen 3. Now see, when I select this, it is moving to the screen 3. No. Why it is not moving to the screen 3? Because it is a text label case. It is not a button. If you see, this is what? It's the label. So in place of label, I want to replace it what? I want to replace it with button. So what I can do, just remove this control and let me go and add one button guys. Let me add the button, keep the button here. Let me change the font, or let me do one thing. Let me remove this. It will take some time to do formatting. Let me go here, copy this button, go to the screen 2, paste it here. Let me change the size. Change the size. Let me change the text. New student registration. New student registration. Click on the enter button. Now this is one button guys. Now see, on select of this button, I want to navigate to where? Screen 3. In the screen 3, I'm having the form. Now select this button, go to the on select property, remove this submit form. I want to use what now? Navigate. I want to navigate to which screen? Screen 3. Go and use the navigate function and move to the screen 3. Now save the app, go and play it. Now see, on select of this button, new student registration. Let me check. Now it is moving to the screen 3 or not. Now this is the new student registration. It is opening one form. Now see, by default, it is showing the form as some data guys. I don't want to keep this like this. Whenever I go and click on this new student registration, the form need to be new form. I want to make this form as what? New form. So now to go and make the form as new form, go to the screen 2, go to this button. Now see, before going to navigate to screen 3, what I need to do here is, I want to reset the form guys. I want to reset what? Form. Which form? I want to reset the form 1. Now once after resetting the form, I want to make that form as a new form. In order to go and make that form as a new form, I'm going to use one of the function, that is new form. I want to make the new form. Which form I want to make it as new form? Form 1. I want to make it as what? New form. So on select of this button, first what I need to do, I need to go and reset the form. Once after resetting the form, I want to make that form as a new form. Once after making the new form, navigate to screen 3. Now save it and play. Now see here guys, on select of this button, now see the form is resetted and the form is new form. Now I can go and enter the data. Let me enter some data. Let me enter the email ID. Let me select the course as Power BI. Now click on submit guys. I'm going to click on the submit button. Now see, when I click on the submit button, I'm not able to see the form, but you are able to see the data here. The data is going to be submitted. Now see, this is the new data that just now I submitted. This is the data I submitted just now. Now see, once if I click on the submit button, I want to navigate to another screen where I can go and show the success message. Your registration is successfully completed. I want to display one message guys. So on select of this button, first go and submit the data and then display some message. What is that message? Your registration is completed successfully. In order to go and keep it, let me go and add one more screen guys. I want to add another screen. Let me go and add on one more screen, screen 4. Now in this screen, let me go and change the background color to red. Let me add one text label. Let me keep some text here. What's the text? What's the text? Let me increase some size to 20, 30. Let me keep it in the semi bold. Let me change the text to registration is completed. successfully. Registration is completed successfully. Let me change, reduce some size. Still fine. Let me keep it in the bold. Yes. Let me change the font. Fine. This is the message I want to display, guys. Registration is completed successfully. Now, on select of this submit button, on select of this submit button, submit the data and then go and display this message. So what I can do, select this button, submit button. By default, it is submitting the data. Once after submitting the data, what I need to do? I want to navigate. Navigate to which screen? Screen 4. Once after submitting the data, go and navigate to screen 4. Now just play it. Now go to the screen 1. Screen 1. Now play it from first. Go and click on get started. Already we discussed this. Go and click on the new student registration. Now the form is opened. Now just go and fill some details. Select the course as SQL Server, Education as ECE. Now click on the submit button, guys. Now see, when I click on the submit button in the patch function, okay, now it is displaying the registration is completed successfully. Let me check whether the record is submitted or not. It's not submitted. Let me check. It is throwing some error. Just remove it. Submit form. Which form I want to submit? Form 1. Once after submitting the form, navigating to screen 2, that is screen 4. Save it. Click on it. Click on submit. Something wrong. It need to work. Sometimes the Power Apps will play with us, guys. Don't worry about it. Just go and click on refresh. Just save it, publish it, and click on refresh. Everything is fine. There is nothing error is there, but sometimes it will show some errors. So Power Apps, don't be panic. Sometimes the Power Apps will test you. It will play with you. So just click on refresh. Now just go and play the app now. Let me check whether we have the error now. No, there is nothing. Now go to the screen 1. Click on play, click on get started, click on new student registration. Let me enter some details. Select the course as SQL Server. Let me keep the education as ECE and click on the submit button. Now, still, why it is throwing this error? Everything is fine. There is nothing to worry, but it is showing some error. Let me check. It's too much. Save it. Click on submit. Just 1 second. Let me check what is the problem. We're connecting to the data source. Okay. Let me refresh it again. Click on play. Click on submit. Now it is submitted. Let me go to this submit button. Let me go and use the function called navigate. Once after submitting the form, navigate to which screen? Screen 4. Now go and save it. Go to the screen 1 now. Play. Let me enter some random details. Let me enter some email ID. Select the course. Let me remove this. Power Apps. Click on submit. Now see, you will get this message. Registration is complete successfully. Why? Now see, on select of the submit button, first submit the data and then navigate to screen 4. Now see, let me check the data is submitted or not. Yes, the data is submitted. If you go and refresh it, stock details also going to be submitted. So previously also the same thing I'm doing is nothing I'm doing here. Same, but we don't know that why the Power Apps is throwing that some errors. So don't be, if it is everything is fine, if the Power Apps is throwing some errors, don't be panic. Sometimes it doesn't work. So wait for 1 or 2 minutes, it will work it again. Meanwhile, go and refresh your app. Before going to refresh, don't forget to save, don't forget to publish. Without save and without publish, if you go and refresh means you will lost complete everything. So once after save, go and publish it. So this is about how to go and create a form and how to submit that data to the form. So how to submit that data to the data sources, how to reset the form, and what the form contains. What the form contains the different types of controls, data cards. What the data card contains? Controls. So this is about all about the forms case. And now see, next we are going to discuss about the form validations. Next we'll discuss about form validations. We'll discuss about form, not form. We'll discuss about, before that form validations, we'll discuss about field validations. We'll discuss about what? Field validations, form validations, and also we'll discuss about form customizations. That means form design. So these things we are going to discuss in the coming classes. So next 5 hours, 4 to 5 hours, I will discuss about the forms only. Every class is interlinked, guys. So don't miss any class. Don't stop practicing. Each and every class is interlinked from today onwards. Next 4 to 5 classes, each and every class is interlinked. Now, before going to discuss about this validations, you need to have some knowledge on the operators. You need to have some knowledge on operators, and also you need to have some knowledge on the functions. So there are 2 more concepts is there, operators and functions. We'll discuss these operators and functions in the next class. Once after completion of the operators and functions, we'll just go and discuss about the field validations, form validations, and form designing. Fine. Let me go and stop here.